Yes, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to going over the charts with you again on the weekend here, twice in a row, 2 days, one right after the other. This is a blessing in disguise as a curse. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin's price as it's just bounced off one of the smaller time frames pennants. We want to take a look at a bunch of other things, and tonight I also want to open this up to be able to have a conversation with you guys. I know the Private Bear family has always been looking at things that do really well, and I want to get better at aggregating and taking a look at all the things you guys are doing. So we're going to make sure we save that for the weekend. That way we can capture your guys' brilliant thoughts and share them as well, because there are a lot of really brilliant people out there. So let's try to capture and share as much of that content as possible. So if I dive in, I'm going to show you not a chart here. I'm going to show you YouTube's live streaming from the back end. This is what it looks like if you've never done it, but not important for most of you. If I go out onto the daily here, we see this beautiful mess of color that I like to call my Bitcoin chart. It's a fantastic barrage of and symphony of basically purple and yellow, my two favorite colors. Big fan of the Lakers, not because I like basketball, but just because I like their colors. If they had made their colors green and purple, or green and blue, might not have been such a big fan, but the purple and yellow has always been a long time favorite of mine. So we've been watching this pennant here, and it shows up a little easier on the 4-hour time frame. Boom, there it is. We were watching it in the bear den. Here we saw it crack down and break right there. We saw a drop down to the 214 simple moving average on the 4-hour, and we're going to try to close above that. Now, we really need to get back up and above 9100. Now, in the long-term time frame, guys, please remember that as an investor, my long-term outlook for Bitcoin is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not potentially millions. And I've kept that outlook for the entire time we've been on this channel. So I think a big part of this is also kind of reiterating and resituating the thought pattern that goes into being either a trader or an investor. Okay, you guys, someone's saying the mic volume is low. Your volume is low. Okay, thank you guys for helping me update that. Let's see if we can turn it up a little bit. Check, 1 2 1 2. It does seem to be a bit louder. Again, let's see here. I'm not sure. Maybe I did something wrong. In general, I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. I wonder if that will help. Tell me if that's any better. Ladies, I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure out how it is. I don't know how to do this. Okay, there we go. Back to the charts. Hopefully we can figure the audio out. Check, 1 2 1 2. And you guys will let me know if that's working, I guess, on the side there. So that's the fun of a live stream. I never really know what's going to happen. I don't know if somehow 3 years on YouTube and I still can't figure it out. It's amazing. I've been working in the tech space most of my life. So there's some really, really exciting things here again. So again, on the lower time frames here, what we're doing is we're just watching smaller trades. And then again, we're looking at our long-term investment portfolio. So being a trader and an investor at the same time really actually helps support one another. If you get really good at trading, your investing portfolio does better. That's kind of like the end result here. It teaches you how to buy and or sell an asset on a more frequent occasion. So there are some big things we've been watching. Now, if we go to the daily and the weekly here, we can see another big pennant that has formed on the long-term time frame. You could draw it in, well, let's cut off a little bit of this top here, draw it in a little bit something like this. And the bottom of that pennant can come all the way from over here like this. So a big part of what we think we're going to see right here, seeing as we had a lot of top-end resistance around that $10,000 mark, it's probably likely we come back down to test the bottom of this $6,000 area. Now, these pennants can go either way. There's a big question in my mind still, and it's been sitting this way, is how much more downside can we see in the markets? Now, it's currently Sunday, and I forgot that on the weekend I can't chart the S&P 500, but what we can do is go back to look at the iterations that I've gone over in the private bear den as well, which is that we've been watching this rising wedge. Now, these are normally bearish signals, and it should be a bearish return to around 279 in the S&P 500. So if this breaks to the upside here, I think we're going to see some bullish momentum. Now, if this breaks to the downside and again breaks below the 2,780 points on the S&P 500, we could be in a long-term bear trend for every asset. Now, let me say that again, even slower, a long-term bear trend. Right? So what does that mean? What does that mean for your investments and you as an investor or you as a trader? I think, again, really kind of teasing out the difference between the trader and the investor is important. Understanding if you yourself would even make a good trader is important. A lot of people don't make good trades. That's a classical sentiment, is most traders will lose money in markets until they learn from hopefully skin in the game and the trial and error process, and then therefore getting better. So being an investor, it's a lot easier. Just keep investing in things that you consider are undervalued assets over your entire lifetime, and don't ever stop doing that. Just keep investing. Okay, so let's get the investor side out of there right now. That's how you invest. Just always be investing. Kind of like that, always be closing, but with investing. Always be closing, and then whatever revenue and profits you get from closing, always be investing. As ABI, always be investing. Only investors get coffee. Classic moment there. So again, what I'm looking at here, if the S&P 500 manages to get above the 200 and 314 moving averages on the 4-hour here, we've gone into no man's land. I'm a little worried, and I will also consider that then the Bitcoin position could continue to go up, and we would want to look at the smaller time frames again for that to happen. On the intermediary, though, this retest of this much bigger weekly pennant seems like a likely scenario. Now, right now, we're stubbed up against the 0.618 at exactly 86, 87, 8800. You can zoom in a little closer. We can get the time frames of that there exactly at 8680. And as you can see, we punctured down with a wick and touched that here. Now, we saw this, this broadening wedge bounced up, does what the broadening wedge normally does, which is go back up to its point B, couldn't get above the 21 moving average on the 45-minute and fell very, very quickly afterwards. Now again, see this thin red line? Not the movie of Saving Private Ryan, but this thin red line here. This is where we bounced off of, and again, this is also that multi-year Fibonacci extension that we have, where most of our support and resistance was around 13,500 here, 11,000 followed by 9,000 and 8,200. So we're looking at a really important area at the 618. This has always been categorized as an important area in the Fibonacci sequence as well. Keeping a close eye on this is going to be important, because this is where we would likely come down to around 6,300. So it's always funny when I get comments around people who are like, oh, you were bearish. It's like, I'm still bearish in the markets. I'm ultra uber confused about how we've had any positive sentiments in the markets. And then I remember, oh yeah, if you go into the internet, you go type Federal Reserve balance sheet, you're like, well, I wonder why the markets are going up. And then you're like, ta-da. Simple answer here. The Federal Reserve has been buying in trillions of dollars, and they post this freely. It's this monster of a chart. Jesus Christ. Want to be in the receiving end of that, and if you're in the stock market, you are. Here we go from February 19th at 6 a.m. February. We saw $4 trillion in liquid assets on the Federal Reserve balance sheet, followed by another $3 trillion in printing very shortly afterwards. This is why we see the run in the markets. Now, the question is can they keep printing and get accelerated growth out of these stagnant markets and see the S&P 500 break up to the upside? Again, that would make me bullish for Bitcoin on a shorter term. Maybe we bounce off the 618 here and continue up. And this is where I'm looking for my long-term potential entries here. Right, so if we stay above the 618 right now and head back up towards the $9,400, $9,500 area, this is going to be a big indicator for me. Now, if we break below the 618, we'll probably come down and definitely retest this $6,400 area. After that, it's anyone's game. We could come lower down again, and I had postulated that that was possible all the way back here from $6,000 in 2018, and we had Tyler Jenks on the show, and we said maybe $1,000. Right? It's a potential. Now, again, what I need to, I think, make explicitly clear for anyone that's new in this space, most of you that are in the bear family, you're not new to this space and you know my sentiments, but I think I should repeat these all the time. I think Bitcoin can go to hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in the long term due to its supply and demand characteristics, and it is the first of the online digital collectible space that we have ever seen, and it offers very unique capabilities in the tech space for that said purpose. Now, what I like to do is learn as much as possible during that process. So we've been in a bear market since $20,000. Now, these big huge runs of 240%, these might be able to convince you that we're not in a bear market and we're actually in a bull market, because these are huge moves off the gap here from the $3,500 mark where we popped down here just at the beginning of March, April, back up to 9,000. We're looking at 120% gain. So you might think to yourself, oh shit, we're in a bull market, but we're not. We haven't broken out past some of these key indicators. And for those of you that have known me long enough, since before my name was Tiho and before the Arcane Bear wherever is around, I don't know how many of this there you are on the channel. There's a few of you for sure. You'll remember that when we were telling people to buy Bitcoin back around here in the late parts of May, June, and this is when we started the channel here in September, March, May 2000. Was it April, March 2017? Yeah, right around here, right before where was the halving? The first hard fork was in August, I believe, of 2017. Yeah, so we had this weird area where Bitcoin was going between 400 and then back up to 600, and then I started screaming at everyone I knew here in Costa Rica to buy Bitcoin, because again, on the long term, I saw that we were headed into a bull market and that we were leaving the bear market that we had been in for around 2 years, right? So we are still in the bear market that we've been sitting in since $20,000. But the bear market in Bitcoin has these ridiculously exciting moments where you can go 290% from the bottom to the top of the triangle, right? And this is why this space has excited us in general. There's a lot of volatility here, and any good trader is going to like volatility. And the volatility aspect of Bitcoins is that this could be an asymmetrical bet, right? At the beginning of this, as an investment, this could go to hundreds of thousands of dollars. So why would anyone waste their time charting and trading? Well, there's something extremely valuable about understanding these spaces as they grow. And it's one of the things I've long stood by. One of the reasons why I like charting something like DigiByte. Here's one of the long-term trades that we had made in the private bear den. We were taking entries everywhere around this red line, around 150 and below. And we saw this nice spike up, back up to the 200 moving average. Again, wicks there. We didn't close above that, although I am looking for a close above DigiByte. But the sentiment that I'm really excited about here is we're trading two completely decentralized assets in somewhat of a free market, one against the other. Bitcoin versus DigiByte, right? This whole new world of markets has emerged, of a free market where we get to choose through our own speculation and manners what DigiByte is worth versus Bitcoin, and what Bitcoin is worth versus DigiByte. Now, a lot of the maximalists haven't taken this into appreciation yet, but it's the entire budding ecosystem of the market itself, which is what fascinates me. And so we've seen things like decentralized exchanges from Ether Delta and Delta Fox. I don't remember. I'm just making stuff up now maybe, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Being able to trade with your Ethereum tokens across the platform directly to someone else through an Ethereum contract. It's super cool. It's very exciting. And that's why we got in this market space, is so that we can trade freely around the world. And again, what I'm interested in here is the fact that we're seeing asset to asset comparison, that we're seeing DigiByte to Bitcoin comparisons, right? Not just Bitcoin to US dollars or DigiByte to US dollars. If you're really in this space, who cares about the US dollar? Unless you're going to buy a house or property or more assets, right? Pay off some debt. So the US dollar is good for. People accept it. But in terms of acquiring assets, I'm interested in the growth of this potentially entirely new ecosystem with cross-border trades and unmanned ships of Ether Fox Delta trading. It's so cool. And that's really what has always kept me excited about this space, and why I haven't drifted back into the traditional markets. Again, I've been a big proponent of gold for many years. It keeps a stable part of my portfolio, and for good reason. It matches my weight in physical assets such as my home and my property. So I've always tried to balance out a degree of clarity for what happens in these downside situations, right? So Bitcoin is an asset that we're using as a hedge in our portfolio in these particular situations, where all of a sudden the Federal Reserve is like, hey, we're just going to print $3 trillion, $3,500 billion. We're just going to print that. We're going to just give it away to, the repo markets and treasury bills, and we're just going to inflate the markets, right? So, and we see that directly. We're going to see the inflation of these markets. So Bitcoin was designed to do well in the fact you can't print more of it. But hey, look, Digibyte offers a lot of those same things. And this is what's always been really enticing to me, is that even though Litecoin's not Bitcoin or BSV or BCH or DGB or RVN or Dash or Flow aren't Bitcoin, they're pretty close, right? So look, you take the average layman and you're like, hey, look at these 5 cars aside if it's a Tesla. And you're like, tell me what you think is so different. It's actually easier to find things that aren't different. They both have engines. They both have brakes, right? Same with the electric car. Both have engines. Both have brakes. Both still have steering wheels, right? Sometimes it's easier to look at what's not different about these things and find out, oh, there's a lot of similarities here. And that's really what's excited me about trading these markets. So Bitcoin is sitting in a pretty critical area, at least right now, for deciding if we're going to enter a bull market now. If we get above this, and especially if we bounce off the 618 line here and continue upwards of 11,000, boom, I think we might have entered we may be entering a long-term bear market, because there's every good reason for it, because they just keep printing fucking money. Oh my God, I'm going to have to mark this video swears on YouTube. Sorry, YouTube, all Saturday and Sunday videos are going to contain 30% swear words. Fuck. Anyways, thank you guys all. Plug your kids' ears. If they don't like swearing, I'm sorry. Maybe you'll, I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. I'm going to swear. It's just a part of my natural content creation. So I apologize if you don't like it, but I'm not apologizing because you don't like it. I'm apologizing because I like you, and I'm not trying to offend you, but this is who I am. So fuck it. Anyways, I love these rants that we get on in the live situation, because I know it's entirely like this free flow moment. I love the podcast for that. But anyways, 618 and up, great sign. Closing below the 618 and especially below 8100 here. Probably going to retest the bottom of this pennant around 6100 and maybe bounce around in here until 2021 and break out, and then see a long, beautiful, slow climb into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So as a trader, right, this still offers us the advantage of having a potential 35% downside in Bitcoin, followed by another 35% upside, and then again followed by potentially another 4 to 10 times return. Let's go up to the 4236 here at $50,000 from the bottom of the pennant. You're looking at an 800% return, right? Or 8, also known as 8 times, right? So if you put $1 in, you get $8 back. If we go to $57,000 from about where we are today, and that's been clearly in my book and my long-term stature for Bitcoin in general. So I think a lot of people get caught too much in the hype. All these YouTubers, and I'm guilty of this too, with clickbait titles that say, "Oh my God, Bitcoin's going to $100,000," and I agree with them, but not quickly. Right, this run that we had up to $20,000, it took years of bear market to get to the point where we broke back above $600 again, and that's when I was like clapping my hands, going long, like those are totally different moments in time and space. We're not there yet. Trust me, when we get there, I'll be opening leveraged longs, and I'll be sitting in that position for maybe upwards of 2 to 5 years here, because I think the next long-term bull market is a much longer, slower ride. Right? I think we could sit here. Let's get a little bit animated about this whole sentiment. Let's scroll this whole thing down. So, again, I'm going to draw this out here. Where's my paintbrush? Paintbrush. Okay. So let's say we let's say we swing at the end of the triangle. Let's say we go all the way to the pennant before we break out. I know a lot of you right off the bat aren't even going to like that, but let's be conservative here, okay? Let's say we break out near the end of the pennant. So this is closer to the end of December, when we start to figure things out. Money printing is still awry, and the markets are doing whatever they're doing. And that's when I think, let's say we see our first breakout there. We test somewhere in 2021. Let's see. This is not as easy to draw as I would like here. Let's start over again. Okay. Try this out with my paintbrush. We'll draw back from here. We draw into 2020. This brings us into the end of 2020 here, and then through 2021. Why can't I draw? Okay. Up through 2021. 2022 up into 10,000, 13,000. We come back, retest the 786 line at around 10,800. We make another slow, long climb back up through 2024, dip back down, and then close up above here. Let's say that's our first wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here in a bigger standard. That's maybe a bit longer than I would. But again, I think our recovery here is going to be 10 years. So That's about right. With probably one last ditch crazy extension like we saw in Bitcoin that one time when all of a sudden it goes parabolic, and you just see this crazy last ditch effort shot. So that puts us all the way into 2028 to get us up to $100,000. That's a long time to consistently be buying and accumulating more, right? Okay, well, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say it does that way faster. Okay, maybe that's the case. For some reason, I'm still not convinced that this is going to fly by in any quick move of the. You guys are saying the volume is too low again. I don't know how that would be. I don't know how it would be too low. I've got it maxed out here. Let's try. If I go and turn this up, no, all the mics are up. All the mics are up here. It's only mic. It's my headphone volume. That won't turn it up. I don't know if the volume's too low for you guys. I don't really know how to adjust it any further. I've tried my best here. Let's see. I don't know. Well, if there's a bunch of you that keep saying that the volume's not well, I'll recheck it again. But I'll just keep going over it. We'll go from there. Yeah, okay, whatever. So let's say this time frame happens even quicker. Let's say it takes till 2025 to get to $50,000 to $25,000, right? This is not unreasonable. See, what a lot of people don't remember is that if you were like me or others, there's lots of us, I'm sure. Let's go to Bitcoin to USD. Let's see this. Will it give us the entire time frame? Yes. Let's open. Can we open this up? I would like to open this chart up, please. I wanted. Okay, data provided by. Okay, well, it's not going to show it very easily here, and nor is it going to give me all-time data on Bitstamp. I'm going to have to go through here, and I'm going to have to open a BTC via Coinbase. I'm so glad that in these live moments here, you guys give me all the time in the world to kind of figure out what it is I'm going to talk about. Okay, Bitcoin to USD through Bitfinex, I guess that would generally have a fairly extensive amount of time, and Coinbase, Bitcoin to USD Coinbase. Hopefully that has a lot more time on it, and it doesn't. Hey, Piro, shush. Okay, well, I can't figure out. Well, either way, it doesn't really matter. But there is this long period of time here between 2013, 14, 15, 16, where we puttered around here at $2,000, and there's nothing exciting going on. We haven't seen a real bear market in Bitcoin yet. We've seen since $20,000, we've been in a bear market, but we haven't seen any like calming moments, right? The closest we've seen is this $3,000 return. It's like, okay, there's a calm moment. Like there's the 200 simple moving average on the weekly we've returned to twice now, and again right off the bottom of this pennant too. So aside from the fact that I can't scroll back and get all the data here, what I want to point out is the time that it takes to be an investor is really, really important. To have that really extensive frame of mind come into play. Otherwise, you get way too caught up in this up and down emotion, and you buy and you sell, and you buy and you sell, and then before you know it, you don't own any Bitcoin because you weren't paying attention. What you want to do is just always have assets and always be accumulating them and not really worry about the price, especially if we're thinking about the long term. So as an investor, who cares? It could take 5 to 10 years to get to the $100,000. That's a long time for you to figure out the rest of the shit that you're doing with your life to always be investing, right? And that's what I want to make clear here is I think a lot of times people enter this space, they get all excited. They think it's a quick get-rich-quick idea because all the moon boy Lambos with throwing up money click titles. And again, I understand that's how YouTube algorithm works. Like, it makes sense. I'm not ragging on them. If I was a smarter man, I would probably do the same thing. It's probably a lot of money to be made there. So it's not... But again, the downside here is every good investor knows who's been in the markets for a long time that these take time. You need to play a relaxed game. If you're thinking about you want to make a lot of money, ask yourself, are you waking up and meditating for an hour in the morning? Because if you're not, you're probably not on your way to making a bunch of money. And if you want to make a bunch of money, you should probably sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, close your eyes, and sit there for an hour and breathe. You'll learn a lot about yourself, and you'll make it a lot further than you expected. So again, one of the key areas here that I want to point out is that in these critical moments, like, oh, Bitcoin critical potential breakdown, like we could be going to 6,000, or maybe if it even goes down to 1,500, who knows? It still could do that. If you want to be a real investor, that doesn't matter. Listen to the long-term story. It might take 10 years for us to get to $100,000. Very, very, very real sentiment, and a calm one at that. Don't get all hype and boasted. I mean, yeah, get excited about Bitcoin, like buy and invest in the things you're excited about. Like get that as a yeah, like make that your flag for the next 10 years. I'm going to invest in things I believe in. Yeah, that's a smart idea. But again, we've seen so much resistance off this $10,000 line here. And again, we need to close above 8,800. And more importantly, we want to give back above 9,100 here, both the 618 and then my previous sell mark here at 9,100. So we want to get back above that to see that bullish continuation. Otherwise, if we break below 8,600, I do believe we're going to be testing at least the bottom of this pennant for 6,100. If not, again, these are all exciting times, because even if you're a good investor and let's say it goes twice as fast, let's say it take only till 2025 to do to get us into a big run that brings us up to $50,000. That's a lot of time to be patient, to make your entries, to buy your $1,000 a month of Bitcoin, whatever it might be, $100 a month, whatever fits your schedule, and be patient with investing. If you run into this game and you think you're going to make a lot of money, you're probably going to lose money. Be patient and keep investing. Anyways, this is Teal with the Arcane Bear. I want to take a look at some of your guys' questions and thoughts. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up my little iPad so I can take a look at your guys' questions. And see where we're going to go. Let's take a look. Okay, I see a shout for Theta. We'll take a look at Theta. Digibyte is first gen tech, too old. That's why I like Digibyte, is because it represents some of the Bitcoin babies. In my sense, give us your dirty market view. Yeah, dirty market talk. Let's tie this market up to the bed and spank it with a bowl. I don't know. It's the best I could do for this evening. I'm going to run a jacuzzi later and read Nassim Taleb. Yeah, that's how cool I am. Sex machine over here. Hope Digibyte does well. I was always lucky enough to buy quite a bit with Theta some time ago, and it's doing very well. Great job on the Theta Fuel call. I know one of our private bear members, I won't call him out by name. I'm not sure if he wants to be called out by name, but one of our private bear members killed it on Theta. I'm really excited about that. I know our Raven call did 12% and actually just went up quite a bit higher too, hit 229 at its peak. And so that's Theta. Digibyte, Raven we'll look at, and let's see what else you guys want to take a look at. Cool. Yeah, so we had some of you guys trading Theta the last month or two, or the month leading up to this. And I love it when I see Bear family members trading things like Theta in the den, and I'm not in a token, and they're like, hey guys, we're looking at Theta. Because I remember it was, what was it, April? Yeah, it was back here in April. You're like, we're getting into Theta, or check out T-Fuel, and you guys killed it on this. What? I don't even get jealous. I get so stoked for you guys, because that's what trading should be. And that's why in the private bear den, I've been so excited to see you guys find your own success, is because our goal is to give you the tools that you need to become your own empowered trader and investor, instead of like, oh, let's just listen to what someone else is going to say. I want you guys to really learn how to do this. And when you guys bring home successful trades like that, I'm like, yes, it's working. The education is working. So I love that. For any of you that want to join the Private Bear Den, it's a private community and a once a month private newsletter where I go over my sentiments. We're constantly charting together, helping each other bounce off each other's ideas and take a look at stuff. So am I interested in Theta at this high? No, it's not really my style to jump in at the last moment at the tippy top high. Although I was really impressed with it, because, like, I didn't jump in here either, right? But at the same point, again, this is why I was stressing that real patient attitude, both towards investing and trading. It just brings a calmer mindset to your game. Look, guys, if you're going to be a good trader and a good investor, hopefully you have your whole life, and hopefully the whole life that is ahead of you is made like exceptionally long and beautiful, right? I hope you have the most beautiful ride and journey throughout your life. May your road be a long one, as one of our favorite poems has reiterated. So when things go up like this, I definitely don't rush to enter. And as you can see on the Eagle's Nest up here, we've been stubbing around. So it could continue higher, a little bit, but we're probably going to hit a fairly strong point of resistance right about where we are now. So this 3,900 area is one of a strong area of resistance, and then again, it's a vestige of support of around 4,800. It could go this high. I haven't looked too much into Theta. I know they're billing themselves as something against YouTube, which is a lot of people get excited about, but real value, actually being able to match the distribution of YouTube, that's a pretty big order to fill, and just tech won't do it. You need to be able to build community, and that's what YouTube has been failing at. So although I think there's a lot of speculation in this, fundamentally speaking, I would be hard-pressed to see how they could win that game, although if they do, all the hats off to them. But for those of you that made the trade, for those of you in the private bear den that made this trade, so proud of you guys. I love that. I love that you guys are excited to make that you pull off 800% trades while I'm busy. I was in and out of Digibyte for 30%. I was like, yes, we killed like a 10% trade, and that's what you got to be excited about your wins. Don't get jealous about other people's wins, and don't chase other people's wins either. Let it play out. Hold on a second. Pira. Okay, so both Theta and T Fuel, I'm not even going to look at right now really in terms of like would I get in or would I get out. Let's take a look at the 15-minute time frame. We're seeing a widening, broadening wedge here, which is usually actually somewhat of a bearish sentiment right here. Somewhat of a bearish sentiment. It has thinned out, yeah. So we'll see. You want to stay above 217 Satoshis on Theta Fuel. Otherwise, you'll come back down and test 190. If you break 190, you're coming back down to 85. So I would be cautious about a position up here. But again, I'm not going to rush into something that's already up this high. But again, for those of you that are already in this trade, I would have been taking profits. It's funny to think, right? But I remember with Digibyte, when I had a fucking enormous amount of Digibyte way back here. Was it in the beginning of 2017? And we had this bump up, and I thought I was like such a fucking gangster here. I'll show you where it happened. 2017. Yeah, here it was. So I bought some Digibyte here, like 27, 30 Satoshis, and we jumped up here. It was like a 200% trade. I'm like, yeah, killed it, like, because coming from the traditional markets too, I'm so excited about anything over 10%. Basically, I closed the trade and then 2,490%, and this is versus Bitcoin's price too. So look at the trade. Had I just kept it, 20,000% trade versus Bitcoin in 2017. This was a fucking huge move. So for those of you that are in Theta, this is also the recommendation that if had I been a little bit wiser to playing this game now, what I don't do is sell it all. I take my profits and I leave my little vestige in there. So I leave if say I put $1,000 in Digibyte and it goes up 10 times, like I got 10 grand. So I take out 9 grand, I keep that 10 grand, or so I keep that $1,000, my original house money in there, because that's done. It's not where it's gone. It's like, let's pretend that that's gone. And I would keep it in the trade now. So let's say I did the same thing with Theta. I put $1,000 in Theta. I'm up 8 times. I got 8 grand. I would take, if 7 of it off the table, I'd leave a grand in there and I'd just walk away from the trade. And I'd maybe walk away from it until I saw something way crazy higher. Because after that Digibyte trade happened, I changed all of my trading strategies in the crypto space into a much more like, let's leave some on the table instead of just fully exit positions if I'm already in a profitable spot with that trade. Anyways, last 2 looks here. Digibyte, again, really quick, we'll go over. I'm excited about this trade. I do think it has more room for growth. I originally stated back here when we were making the entries that I thought it had upwards of 600 to 700 Satoshis, which would put us at an 800% gain, very similar to that of Theta Fuel as well. So if we go into the shorter time frames, we can see that we are an important part here right on the 45-minute. I want to see us close back above 225, where my blue line is here. and definitely yeah, let's see here. Yeah, I want to see us get above this 227 mark. And then this could, to me, could potential that third wave move. So here you'd see it. And this would, well, you know what, it's always good to go over this stuff. We don't always count these out for you guys. So here would be the 1 wave, the 2 wave, the 3 wave, the 4 wave, and the 5 wave, right? So that would actually be the 5th wave of our wave 1. I didn't make an exit here, even though I was pretty confident we were at the top, mostly because I didn't want to deal too much with an intermediary trade, although I did take a heavier position here. Now, if we're looking at how this longer road might get there, it's if we consider this now a 1 wave, a 2 wave, which it came back all the way down to the simple moving averages at 314 and 200 here, and then I think we'd see a 400 and then up to 600 and 700, and that's kind of what the estimate has been here for the last little while. To get to 800, even from the 150 Satoshi mark, the estimate wasn't too different, that we would see a parallel in some of its previous waves. So we're looking pretty healthy for a digibyte move, although if you're not already in the trade, the entries for the trade were back down here at around 150. I would be more cautious entering here just in case it does spike back down, because that on average equals around 20%. I know it looks small, but that's a 30% drop. So there's not a lot of room to play around with if you're not already in the trade. But nonetheless, keeping a close eye on digibyte. And I think what else did you guys say you wanted to look at? Let's take a look here. Okay, so I see a question about physical gold and silver. Yes, I do own physical gold and silver, and you should, for a balanced part of your portfolio. I generally keep it in a relationship to my physical assets, such as property. So I keep it in a relationship of my property portfolio, and anyways, that's how for everyone to figure out, but I definitely think you should have it. It's less risky than Bitcoin. It's more of a stable asset in your portfolio, and it's designed to help hedge as well. So I think a balanced portfolio does have both physical gold and silver. I actually always keep some in my desk here right beside me because I love silver. I love that twangy sound it makes. I actually have some original coins here too, but this like, oh yeah, that sweet silver sound. Anyways, so yes, I think that is important. How you balance it, though, that's up to you. I balance it based off my other physical illiquid assets. Would you kindly look at one? I haven't looked at one in a while. We haven't been trading those, although there was a group of them. There was one fetch, seller, and let's actually put those all on the board and take a quick look at all of them, because they were moving in somewhat of a conjunction together, and I want to see if they have kept that in any way, shape, or form. So let's see. Here we go. We've got one. Wow, dropped real low. Let's look at it on the daily. Look at that. Wow, actually, you know what here? I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of taking a trade in anything over here that it looks like yet, but you could speculate that this was a falling wedge, and you guys that are traders in the bear family know how much I love falling wedges. You could even draw it back here. So I'm not going to say it was a lost cause. And look at this, we're above the daily 21 moving average here. Yeah, I mean, you could see, look, if you already took a position here and won at 28 satoshis, you could probably easily see 100 to 100% gain here, especially if we stay above 39 satoshis. So let's just for fun keep a look at on fetch and seller, because these were actually acting fundamentally similar, and I'll try to show that. Again, for all of you that are our paying member, you remember when we made some of the big spike plays off fetch here. We were at the hot springs, and yeah, you guys remember this one. November, that was a good time. We had some good times back then. But anyways, we'll see here again. We see a very not identical, but a similar. I'm just gonna make shit up or what? Come on, Tio. You see a type of falling wedge here as well. You could even bounce it off that line if you wanted to. You can cut off all this noise. So again, both fetch above the daily here. There's room for upsides on these tokens, and if you've got to see how they're all just bumping up above their daily 21 moving average right now. So what we had done, when we were watching these all kind of launched at a very similar time frame. So let's take a look at seller, fetch, and 1 all on the same frame, and 1 because that's what you guys wanted. Okay, 1, not a crude oil. Okay, so these are all in the 45-minute. Hopefully what I'm trying to show you makes sense here. So again, for those of you that are already part of the Private Bear family, you'll remember that we had these 3 on like a lot. Let's actually go to the daily positions on each one of these. Let's be easier to see. Give me a lot more sentiment to analyze as well. Okay, so each one of these tokens, as far as I know, was an IEO on Binance, and as you can see, there was a massive like delineation downwards over their months. Okay, so here you can see where, I don't know if you guys can see this, but right now these all fell together and spiked together. So this spike here, this all happened at the same time on all 3 of these tokens. So if you can kind of see where my mouse is, I'll draw a circle around it here. Okay, so this one and this one and this one all happened at the same time. So you can see a very similar secondary spike and then this flat line on all these tokens. So look, all of these tokens flatlining here, all of these blue lines at the bottom, each one of these looks like they might be primed for 100% jump. So good eye on that. Although if I haven't already taken a position here, especially in like, you look at, okay, let's just go back to a single one of these now. We'll go back to 1 for now, it's fine. See, with 1, the best entry points were down here by this blue line. This is where I would have taken an entry point had I wanted to make this trade. It's a little bit high for me right now, but if I wanted to, I would be keeping a very close eye on this area here and the 21 moving average. So staying above 34 Satoshis and more importantly above 39. But both one fetch and seller are all doing the same thing. So I would keep a batch eye look on these if you guys are interested in those trades. Tell you what, I'll actually move these up again and we'll put them in our little basket of watches for the next few times. And we're going to do these shows every Saturday and Sunday. We'll do live charts, and then the other videos will be a bit more vloggy, and then maybe once a week we'll do the podcast. What about day trading? If it takes so long to go up, a day trading sounds more appealing. Day trading, I've actually find swing trading is much easier to make more money because there's less stress and you have a longer period of time to find your trade. So I'm not a big fan of day trading, much bigger fan of swing trading. Hey man, I get tired of people who don't do their research. Good. Still hoping to join the bear den one day, of course. You broke your neck, brother. Don't worry. Actually, maybe we'll, Crazy Kangaroo, try to email me. We'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll give you tell you what, Crazy Kangaroo, you're getting a free month of the Bear Den because you just told me you broke your neck. That's really crazy, brother. I'm sorry about that. We'll let you deserve to be in there because that hurts. I can't imagine. And you're still showing up to the live show. I'm so grateful. Thank you for the support. You wild man, you. Let's see. Melissa says Theta has an actual use case. It was just added to the new Samsung mobile phones. Yeah, I don't know what use case it was, and Samsung has had that, adding it to their phone thing a bunch. That is kind of like not real news. Samsung has, I don't know how many supposed tokens they've added to their phone. I wouldn't really take that as like a real use case. I don't know what real use case that is. Anyways, just my sentiments there. Maybe I'm wrong. If anyone has any more information they would like to send me about what that means, you can email me tiho@arcanebear.com and I will take a look at it. And maybe we'll even open the public bear den again. But for now, it's only paid members because they just are much more responsible, caring individuals. They have real skin in the game. So maybe we won't. And it's only the private den because otherwise it's just spam bots. But yes, if you guys want to share some stuff with me about Theta, I would, I'm happy to take a look. Awesome. Monero, Pillar. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. I think we did almost an hour there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. I had a great time going over. Maybe I'll leave you guys with some music. I know you all always love a little bit of little bit of tunes. I'm not sure what we'd play. If you want, write down what instrument you would like me to play, and I will go there and I'll play that instrument. But for now, I'm really grateful for all your guys' support. Smash that thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. Give likes, subscribe, share, all that stuff it says on the left-hand side. Flick yourself a silver dollar into the air, and if it lands on heads, give yourself a high five, and if it lands on tails, give your other hand a high five. Okay, I'm gonna have a jacuzzi, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. You know what? Maybe I'll leave you guys. I'll leave you with a little bit of calming flute, and we'll call that the end of the show. Okay, so here is this is a little bit of a native flute I picked up in Guatemala. I'm always a big fan of these types of flutes. If you've never played a flute like this before, go ahead, do yourself the favor and buy one when you see one. This was only $15, handmade in Guatemala. It's a beautiful thing. And if you ever want to play it, it's super easy. Just always keep the third hole closed, which is going to be this one, and always play in sequence. So always go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you get this beautiful, it's super easy, just ascend and descend. Yeah, okay, we'll just keep that going for a sec. Always be investing, ladies and gentlemen, and have yourselves a lovely evening. We'll see you on the other side.